And here we go. Hey, folks, you're back. So am I. Yeah, you are. Yeah, I am. It's today. And we're in Nashville, Tennessee. I like that. I like that I'm in Nashville. It's I got some really great things, except the weather, of course, which I like to talk about ad nauseum because it makes me nauseous. Not really. Yeah, sometimes so. If there was anything I could fix about Nashville, it would be the bloody weather. Let me just say it like that. The bloody weather. Okay. So here we are. Thanks for coming. As always, thank you. Appreciate it. Just getting my together. If this is the first time that you've come across me and our channel, our humble wee little channel, in the small corners of YouTube, thanks for coming. Except this is not a great place to start. So I'd like to thank you for coming and say goodbye. Send you back. Go back to the first episode of the Series 1 and start from there. We are so far down. You know, I forgot to count how many episodes this is. This is Season 3, Episode 12. Let's see. The first two seasons had 7. So that's 14. This is 26. Episode 26. If my math is doing what it should be. Whew, we come a long ways. You know, we average about almost 30 minutes an episode. So happy about, we'll keep it under 30 minutes for you. It's heavy duty stuff and tough to get, a lot into 30 minutes. But I like to do it in 30-minute segments anyway. And on certain subjects, we'll do several episodes, like today. This is actually the third on the subject of obedience. I do that, I wince, because that word, obedience. Because it's so critically important, as we covered in the last 2 episodes. So, gratefully, happily, exuberantly thrilled that you're here to get this third one. We needed a third one. That's what we needed, and so that's why we're doing it. You may have noticed, as I mentioned a little bit in the last episode, there's a progression of tools that we're moving through. The first several, are accessible to just everybody. And then up to a certain point, through our understanding and the process, understanding of the process, we're going to get to some of the more advanced tools that's really going to take us from to the next level on this thing. And there are levels, oddly enough. They're not so, well, they are. Yeah, there are levels. We've been, this whole developing a relationship with the creator of the universe, who's our dad, Yahoo, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. There's a progression. And, it's especially since Jesus was here, 2,000 years of history of God's people. And why this channel is called Be Catholic ? Because I discovered almost half years ago, probably now at this point, working on 2.5, this thing called the Catholic Church. No, it's not that I didn't know that it wasn't, that it was there. It's just a matter of, it seemed like a secondary matter. Let's just say it that way, relative to the subject matter. I didn't know and realize that they had these incredibly mind-blowing people throughout these 2,000 years, and I've brought up one of which in our modern world. He passed in 1968, the year of 1968. His name is Padre Pio, or Father Pio. If you haven't checked him out, you've got to this point. You would have had to have looked him up. Incredible. But there's been lots of guys, folks, women and men, dedicated their lives to this transformational process of being in relationship with our Father in heaven, and by that, being transformed to be like him. There are levels to this thing. We are generally reflective of the levels of our character being developed. Who knew? So here we are today. Obedience is kind of getting semi-advanced, and that's why we're here. We're going to be getting into more of the advanced stuff in the very near future. But this is the last of 3 episodes on obedience. And I'm going to get right to it because there's a bunch of verses that we got to get to today to outline exactly putting the capstone on this thing, on this building that's being built on the subject of obedience. And I want to bring this up again. What kind of obedience are we talking about? In order to really get to where we're going, we have to pass through this thing of just submitting. You know, Jesus said in John chapter 14, verse, was it 55? No, verse 15. John 14, verse 15. If you love me, you'll keep my commands. Wow. You know, that's so liberating and yet so at the same time, because you're just like, ooh. So everything he says we need to do, right? He's got some hard teachings, y'all. At least it seems hard from our, even for them back then. There was a few things he said, which we're not going to go into today. They're just like, hey, wait a second. So much of what he said just really bent the minds of the religious leaders in the Jewish culture and Roman culture too, and any culture since, on this whole thing of, is he really who he says he is? Or implying, especially back then, he implied it a lot and spent not too much time actually saying it outright. He liked it. The people figured it out by what he was saying and doing in the incredible miracles and world-transforming words. And so, here we are, with this thing called obedience. If you love me, keep my commands. Whew, okay. So I got to get this whole obedience thing really together, because in order for me to follow his commands, to show him that I love him, I'm going to have to do some stuff that I don't want to do. Well, that my flesh doesn't want to do, my pride doesn't want to do, and that, and shifting from pride to humility, working on that and being worked on, really, on that, with some developing success, happily. I know me, and I've known the depths of my pride, especially in retrospect. So humility being a huge one. But if I got to follow his commands, well, okay. I wish I had someone, when I was younger, who, had a good handle on all this. Didn't really have that. Not a lot of guys that were real, really took this verbatim. If you love me, keep my commands. It's just not negotiable. Jesus isn't kidding around. He's like, you can not do my commands if you want, but clearly, we don't have the kind of relationship that you think you have, or that we have, if you're not following my commands. Of course, he's always got mercy, when we mess up and, we get run over by our pride and that kind of thing. Not talking about that, but, if there's certain things that we just flat out say, no, I'm not going to do that. But I'll do some of the other things. I'll pick and choose, like in a cafeteria. Then Jesus is like, hey, fill your boots. Go for it. Go get it. You'll figure out real soon why that's a bad idea, or maybe later, sooner or later. But there's a reason why I say the things I do. Jesus, these are the things you need to do, and these are things you need not to do. And the closer we get to him, the more obedient we're going to need to be, to really benefit from that relationship. So, obedience. Yee-hoo. Okay. If you love me, keep my commands. Okay. Well, this is one of those hard ones today. You thought those were hard. Well, come on down. Yep. We're going to go get it today. I got a bunch to get through, so I'm going to just roll at it. Luke chapter 22, verse 42. Luke chapter 22, verse 42. And this is where we're going today. Sorry. No, we already did that. I'm going to say it anyway. Luke 22, verse 42. Father, if thou art willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. And that's Jesus being obedient unto death because he loves his Father. Ooh, put those last two verses together. That's where it gets to, folks. We're going to die anyways. Look, we're going to die. We got to just get to it. And I don't mean that. I mean, we got to get that figured out. What kind of condition are we want to be in when we hit the other side? I mean, we know. I mean, it's every person in the history of the world, bar a couple, and that's a theological discussion for another day, dies. We die. We are going to die. We're going to die. I figured this out, I figured this out young. I'm like, maybe that's important to figure that out. What does it mean to die, right? What does that mean? Like, what's on the other side? I'm not going to be here. Where am I going to be? Is it like some think and it's just nothing? That's a nihilist perspective. That never made sense to me. I'm like, nah. Most of the cultures in this world throughout the history of the world have understood that we continue on past that point. So then it only made sense to me, well, I need a map or something, If you're going to take a vacation, you want to figure out where you're going before you get there, right? Or if you got to, do a road trip or whatever, you need to know what turns to take and what supplies to take with you and, for how long you're going to be gone and, get that all sorted out. Well, this is why I got this young. I was in my teens when I was struck by this reality. I'm like, I better take this serious to some degree. I better get this figured out. I need, and it's been obviously an adventure since then. I was about 17 when I had this revelation. 17 was a big year for me. Getting out of high school and all that was a big thing, as it is for most. Okay, so enough on that. This is going to get where we're going today. And we're going to get it from Matthew chapter 18, verses 1 through 4. Oh, yeah. Ketsie the Great is doing her rounds. If you hear any jingling, that's her dog collar. What are you doing? Don't knock that over. Okay. I know you haven't seen a picture of her yet, but she looks like a Russian toy poodle, or a Russian toy terrier, beg your pardon. So if you want to look that up. And she's kind of cinnamon brown, which is why she has her name Ketsia, or Ketsie for short. What are you doing back there, girl? Sorry, everybody. Come on. Come out of there. Right. I know. No. Hey. Nuh-uh. You cut that out. Okay. Let's go get it. Matthew chapter 18, verses 1 through 4. Here we go. This is where we're going today. Hang on to your hats. Verse 18. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus saying, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" They were jostling with each other. Hey, which one of us is? And calling. Hang on a second. Yes. And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, "Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like a child, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like a child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Okay, this is a setup for where we're going today. We've talked about this one, I know, but who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? The obedient, humble child, right? Covered that already. But I need to set this up for you today because it's that big and that heavy. Who wants to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Obedient, humble, childlike. That's how we need to be. When we get to the other side of this thing called earth, life, well, we continue with life. But what condition do we want to be in? Well, this is the condition that Jesus is looking for, right? Okay, let's continue on with Luke chapter 9, verse 23. And this is where it gets real hard. Luke chapter 9, verse 23. And he said to all, this is Jesus, if any man would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. And follow me daily. Oh, no, just on Sundays. just Sundays for a couple of hours. That's all. That's all we need. No, not just on Sundays. This is so much to unpack from this verse and from this concept. Reading it again, and he said to all. He said to all. How many? All. Everybody, all. If any man or woman would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. Take up his cross. What does that even mean? Well, if we know the story of Jesus, we know what a cross means. If we know anything, we know what a cross means. What's he saying here? Take up his cross daily, denying himself. What's this signifying? Obviously, they didn't carry crosses around with them. That would have been, I know some guys since then do that, and as a memorial or a memorandum or, a way of, doing something publicly as a way of communicating. Often it's, on Good Friday, when that kind of thing happens, people have a cross, and, a lot of people wear crosses. How often, do they really think or contemplate on what that even means? It's about denying yourself, being obedient and being humble. Being obedient and being humble, that's the cross we pick up daily, and follow him. He's with us. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere. I know we go through life thinking, oh, he's not here. We think we have privacy. This thing called privacy. We have privacy from other humans. Although some of them still we don't have privacy. They've got certain gifts from the Holy Spirit where they know what's going on in certain people's lives because God shows them. Padre Pio was like that. But secondary matter, we have to, if anyone, person, man, would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. This whole cross thing, that's, there's more. Matthew chapter 10, verse 38, or 34 through 38. Well, yeah, let's do the whole thing. Let's do all of it. Do not think I have come to bring peace on earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's foes will be those of his own household. He who loves his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. He's the true father, right? He's like the grandfather to some degree. And he who loves his son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life will find it. So much to unpack there. I could spend hours just on that whole verse. But verse 38, and he who does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. What does the cross really signify? It's a death or denying of self, obedience, humility, following his commands because we love him, right? Matthew 16, verse 24, nice, short and sweet. Matthew 16, verse 24, then Jesus told his disciples, if any man would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. There it is again. I mean, how many times do we need to be told, pick up our cross, deny ourselves? Yeah. Can't be his disciples if we don't. Right? Luke 14, verse 27. Who does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. That's Luke 14, verse 27. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Bit of a slam dunk, I think, on this idea of picking up our cross and denying ourselves daily. Otherwise, we're not his disciple. That's what he says. Hey, sorry. I know. It's this whole thing of being born on planet Earth. It's not what we think it's for. We've been taught by this culture that it's about this, that, and the other thing. No, it's about this. What's the point of being born? And we were born to be transformed into the likeness of our Father, to be Christ-like in all our behavior. Forget the address on that one. So, the heavy-duty stuff. I know these 3 episodes in a row here on obedience. Tough. But, we got to take an axe to this tree that's grown in us, this attitude, this position, this way of thinking, that I'm my own king, self-shepherding. That's a tough one. Google that, self-shepherding. That's where we think whatever is best for me is right. And I get to pick and choose out of, what Jesus commands, what I'm going to do and not do. It just won't get us there, folks. It just won't get us there. Might get us to a certain point. Any truth that we follow is going to move us the ball downfield. Any truth. The truth is the spirit of truth. The truth. What's real, what's true. Even if we just did one thing, that would help move the ball down the field to some degree. But God doesn't want us just a yard, down the football field. He wants us to get us to the end zone for that touchdown, and that touchdown is being like Jesus, as we've covered from the beginning. Take these verses, read them, read the whole chapter, spend some time with it. Don't let this just be the end of it. Step away. Ask God for help. Help me understand this thing of obedience. I got 3 episodes of verses that I've just put, and it's just scratching the surface. This isn't, it's not all of it. It's not exhaustive by any means. I mean, really, most of the Bible's about this thing. Lessons of the benefits of doing what we're told, being obedient, and the consequences if we don't. And the consequences are way worse than picking up our cross and going through this purification process, this transformational process, right? I'm going to leave it there. I think that puts the cap on this thing. I think that's where we can finish it off today. I want to thank you so much for joining me today, as always. And do all the YouTube-y thingies that we do, like, subscribe, and comment, and share, and that kind of stuff. I'm not concerned about being a big channel. It's about quality. If I can help one person, with all this information and help them, through this transformational process, then it's all worth it to me. And I'm just so grateful to be able to document this stuff, right? It's the one thing about making an episode and making a series. Once it's done, anything's possible with it. Anybody around the world that has access to a cell phone or a computer can benefit by it, including myself, because I get to go through and rewatch this stuff as I edit it. Believe me, I learn new things every time I work on this stuff. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me, and I'm going to leave it there. And with that, I will see you in the next episode.